There's news in the NFL today, and it's time to break it down in the only way we know how. Hot Route style, with our spin on football headlines with a mix of frozen tundras, neck rolls, and grass-stained jersey.
Hello and welcome to Hot Routes. Sam, I am excited today. You look excited. We have a new intro. It's sweet. Matthew Collar put that together with old friend Manny Hill. Manny's going to be coming on Hot Routes, I'm sure, at some point this season. They were the originators of the Hot Routes. So very, very pumped up to have an intro and very, very pumped up to welcome in Sam again this week for another episode of Hot Routes. How are we doing today, Sam?
Good. I should have showed up in a neck roll. We should have some NFL Films music playing in the background. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we're slowly but surely amping up the production value for you. So this week we got an intro. Who knows what will come out next week? You're just gonna have to keep watching and seeing to see what we can come up with in the graphics department as we roll that out. But yes, I'm excited to do another week of Hot Routes. I think a little bit rejuvenated this week because the Vikings win and suddenly the playoffs are back on the table, Sam. And so I want to know that it's starting to bunch up really, really tightly up there right now. The Panthers would get in with a 5-5 record with that 7 seed if the playoffs ended now. But obviously the Vikings have the tiebreaker there. And then San Fran with a really, really nice win over the Rams on Monday night. So it's tightening up quickly here. So I want, in traditional Hot Route style, we're going to do a pie chart. And I want you to give me a pie chart of the number 7 seed. It's pretty broad. So I'm not going to give you any teams. I'm going to let you create your own, which could be great or it could be disastrous based on the math. We'll see how you do with your pie chart of the NFC 7 seeds.
Well, this makes for a great pie chart because there are 10 candidates, I think, in the soft underbelly of the NFC. You've got the 5-4 Saints up at the top, and then you've got a slew of 3-6 teams at the bottom. So everybody is separated by 2 games, going for 2 spots. And the percentages are maybe a little off here because there really are those 2 spots, right, that they're all vying for. The 6th seed is absolutely on the table as well. So the way I see it, these percentages apply to can they make the playoffs getting one of those 2 seeds. So 10 teams, 2 spots. I think the 49ers with the win last night get into the mix. I think they make the pie chart at 15%. They do have a good coach. In theory, they have talent, but they're very injured right now. So are they going to galvanize around sort of those losses and get their depth going? Is Garoppolo going to figure things out? Because I think they might have been 1 loss away from a quarterback change. But I'll put the 49ers into 15% in the pie chart. I think the Eagles are a sneaky sleeper here. I think they are 16% because Jalen Hurts, if you look at his numbers year 1 to year 2, much better, much more efficient. He's got enough mobility to burn you. Their point differential is plus 26. They know how to put points on the scoreboard. So I think the Eagles, even though they're 4-6, are a sneaky team, and the kicker there, 3rd easiest schedule remaining in the NFL. So Philadelphia, look out. 19% to the Falcons. I don't love them, but I just think if you have Matt Ryan, you can probably string some together. The Saints, I will give 20% to because of Sean Payton for no other reason. They could be on the verge of a tailspin. They've lost 2 in a row. They have, I think, Dallas and Buffalo and the Eagles on the road coming up. Tough schedule. But I respect the coach and I respect what he can do without Drew Brees. So Saints, and then I'm going to be Mr. Optimist here. 30% Minnesota Vikings. I mean, they've got a quarterback that has a history of stringing wins together. I think they're due for some positive regression in 1-score games. We'll get more into the 1-score games later, I think. And I think they've got enough winnable football games that they can get, the 5 they need. I think they need to be 9-8. I think that it's very possible for the Vikings because you look around them and there's just not a lot of good quarterback play. There's not a lot of good coaching, and the Vikings have the ingredients at least to get there. So I like Minnesota's chances a lot, Paul. This is a rare moment for me of intense optimism.
Well, I am also optimistic. For me, I'm going 30% for both the Vikings and the Saints. I think the Saints with Sean Payton. They're going to hopefully get Kamara back soon. Actually, like, it hasn't been great, but I don't think Trevor Siemian has played that badly. And the rest of that roster is just so good that I have confidence in them to continue to be good. Drew Brees wasn't amazing at the end of last year, and they were still going into the playoffs right in the hunt. I don't think the Saints are that far off from that. So I'm going to go 30% on both of those, which leaves me 40% to work with. I'm going to go 49ers. I agree with you. I think that was a signature win for them on Monday, one that the Vikings, I guess you're putting that as the Chargers game for their signature win, but if you're stacking them up, the 49ers are right there, and they're always dangerous if Kyle Shanahan can kind of get that thing under wraps. They're starting to use Brandon Ayuk a little bit more. Deebo Samuel was unlocked. George Kittle scored a touchdown, I believe, on Monday too. So they've got tons of weapons. So I'm going to go 20% on them as well to make the playoffs. And then I've got 20% to work with. I think that could go any which way, really. I'll go 10% to the Seahawks just because of Russell Wilson by himself. He at least garners that respect from me. He was still a little bit injured, it seemed like, in that Packers game. I think that his performance will continue to get better. And then that other 10%, we'll just throw it on the Eagles. I don't quite believe in the Falcons at this point. It just, I'm not going there. Based off 538, the Falcons have a 9% chance to make the playoffs, much lower than the Seahawks at 17, Eagles even at 26. So I'll go follow the numbers there and go give them 10%. Well, that was great. That I could not try to keep up with your math. I was just hoping that you got to 100%. So hopefully someone in the comments was listening and paying attention to Sam's math, and hopefully he got that right. We got a little bit more math in this next hot route question. The Vikings, I mean, 1-score games. I think they've only had 2 games now that haven't been by 1 score out of there. So 7 of 9. And so now we've got 8 games left, Sam. And I want to know, did they figure something out this week? Will they avoid some 1-score games? Or are we on a path for the same? And so my question to you is, over under, out of their 8 games left, are 5.5 decided by 1 score?
Yeah, I think it's 8 of 9, Paul. I think the only game
9
that wasn't was Seattle, unless I'm forgetting one. That's how thin the margin has been. Crazy parity in the league. I think it's over. I really think they get 6 more, because the home games are against tough opponents, right? Mm-hmm. So any advantage you have at home, like any chance of one of those home blowouts, I think goes out the window when you have to play Green Bay, LA, and Pittsburgh and Chicago, who's, I guess maybe there's an opportunity there. But again, we don't need all of them. We just need 6. And then, every game on the road is going to be hard. I mean, I know that Detroit is looming and you might pencil in a W there, but number one, you already almost blew it to Detroit. Number 2, Detroit has been in close games. They had Baltimore on the ropes at home. They, had a tie at Pittsburgh. They almost, came back and beat San Francisco. So
and the Vikings on the ropes at US Bank.
Absolutely. So I'm not even gonna say the Vikings necessarily win by more than a possession there. I just think that the home games are hard. The road games are hard by virtue of being on the road. Like Chicago, I mean, that's an impossible place to win by more than 1 possession for the Vikings. Lambeau's going to be hard. San Francisco is going to be tough going to the West Coast. So I don't see any games where the Vikings are clearly going to be favored to win by 11. So I think 6 is a good bet. I like the line.
Yeah, I mean, credit to the bookmaker. I don't know who did that. Set a good line there. No, I'll take under just for the sake of the argument, and I think they have the potential to, if they're going to change their mindset on offense with what we saw last week, and throw the ball to Justin Jefferson more and be more aggressive in close games, I think this is something that can get under 5.5. I wouldn't go much lower, maybe at 5 or something like that. But I think the Lions game, if they play with that more aggressive style, the Lions have kind of been boom or bust this season. They're either playing really tight with the Steelers or they're getting blown out. I think they were blown out by the Eagles most recently. So they haven't been quite consistent in that way. So I think it's definitely manageable to go lower. And I think that would probably include maybe a blowout win or 2, and then maybe a loss to the Rams or one of these Packers games could also be a loss for them in that way. So for the sake of the argument, I'll go under, but I have to admit, I sneaky just think they're just going to keep coming down. It's going to keep being exciting. It's going to keep being thrilling, maddening. I don't think we're headed for a smooth end of the season. Let's move to our third hot route, which I'm excited about because we saw Cam Newton make his return to the Panthers and pretty much widely praised. Everyone loved it. He got in the end zone twice. It was a pretty celebrated return. And so I want to know, from a Vikings perspective, who would be the most celebrated reunion? What reunion would you want to see with current or former Vikings players that are still in the NFL? What would be the best Vikings reunion?
All right, so the bar for reunions with this team and in this town is very high, extremely high, because you could argue that 3 of the major franchises here have already brought back the most popular player or among the most popular players in franchise history. Randy Moss has already come back to Minnesota. Like that is the best possible reunion you could have had, and it's already happened. Kevin Garnett back to the Wolves, Torrey Hunter back to the Twins. So the bar is set pretty high. And I look at some of these possibilities for active players for the Vikings, and they all obviously come short of Randy Moss. I mean, you can't get better than that. To pair him up with Favre in 2010, crazy. I think Linval Joseph would be cool, but he doesn't play that sexy of a position. I think sentimentally, if Case Keenum randomly was back here and starting a football game, I think fans would gobble that up. I think that Keenum has a special place in people's heart after his 1 year. You could bring back Adrian Peterson for a spin. Watching him get loose would be pretty fun. Kyle Rudolph wouldn't be that exciting. Cordero Patterson would be cool. But if you have a great answer, Paul, by all means, I feel like every name I can think of that's active in the league, there's not really a bounty of good former Vikings out there. So I don't know what the answer is.
I've got 3 for you, and you named one of them, but you didn't name the other 2. So I'm excited for this. The one you did name, Cordero Patterson, just what he's doing now on the Falcons, I think would be super fun to bring him back. He was a fan favorite and always one of those guys that was never quite used how much that the fans wanted him to be. I think if now that we've seen what his role can be like in an offense when you get creative, I think bringing back Cordero would be super, super fun. And we like Kenny Nwangwu and what he did on the punt return and everything. But I think to have that Cordero as a special teams guy back too would be electric. The other 2, I like your Case Keenum one, but I'm not sure it's even the best quarterback you could bring back. I think for sentimental reasons and just for fun, say you get rid of Kirk, it's Teddy. I mean, it's Teddy. It's Teddy every time, I think. If you brought Teddy back, who knows what it looks like in the win column, but from a approval perspective, I think that gets unanimous praise. Bringing him back, it's almost like bringing Ricky Rubio back to the Timberwolves or something like that. Just that fan favorite. Who knows what it will do on the field, on the court, but in terms of a leader and just in terms of morale, bringing back Teddy, I think would be great. And then the last one, not great for morale, but I think would just be amazing to see is Stefan. Come on back. Why not? Diggsy, come here. Come on back. Come on, join the squad. Maybe Kirk leaves, Zimmer leaves, the slate is wiped clean next year or something like that. And Stefan wants to come back, rekindle the magic of the Minneapolis Miracle. So yeah, my top 2 when I thought of it right away were Teddy, just for the morale, and then just for the storyline of bringing Stefan Diggs back.
Yeah, no, you thought of the 2 probably most obvious ones that I didn't mention there. So props to you for coming up with it. The Diggs would be most interesting because he would obviously he's got the impact, he's got the connection, he's got the history with the team. It's all there. There's just kind of that bad blood. But you know what? Everson Griffin didn't exactly have a great separation from the Vikings either. And look at the way he's been embraced. That was one of the best possible reunions that they could have had this past off season, and they made it happen, and it's been fantastic. The Diggs stuff is probably a little more deep-seated, but I would still enjoy seeing it happen, and he's good enough that I think he would make people forget pretty fast.
For sure. Well, I want to move. We're going to get a little weird here with our last 2 hot routes, gonna get a little goofy. And the first one, I was just scrolling through Reddit, and I popped upon something that was just very interesting, something I didn't even realize people were tracking. And it's probably one of the most epic rivalries that we have going on right now, which is the cat teams versus the bird teams. So the Panthers, Bengals, Lions, Jaguars, all cats, versus the Falcons, Cardinals, Ravens, Eagles, Seahawks. And that record currently, as it dates all the way back, is 209 to 209 to 10. So we are exactly split even on the cat teams versus the bird teams matchup. I know this is on the top of everyone's list this week. Big storylines, as we've still got 6 remaining cat bird teams rivalry matchups left. And so you have the matchups in front of you. We can go through them, or I have them in front of you if you don't have them in front of you. And I want to know who's going to be able to take the bragging rights this year into the offseason for the cat teams versus the bird teams.
Yeah, well, let me first say that Detroit has ruined this for the Cats.
Yes,
I mean, they're in the last 15 years alone, they might have 2 winless seasons. Their franchise all-time record is more than 100 games below 500. So Detroit has loused this up for the felines big time. I mean, the Panthers and the Bengals are getting together, and they're talking about the Lions behind their back. They're having parties without the Lions. They're gossiping. They're making fun of the Lions, and there's infighting in the cat ranks because of how the Lions have let their species down. And they're going to do it again because the Lions are involved in a number of these matchups.
They are.
I think the Jags could beat the Falcons. I think the Jags are playing a little better. That's possible. I think the Panthers could beat the Falcons as well. Like the Cats are going to win a couple of these games, but Cardinals over Lions, that's almost a sure thing. Seahawks over Lions, I think that's a sure thing. The Lions may lose 3 of these, which would force then the Birds to win out in the other 3 for the tie. I got to go with the Birds because of Detroit.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's the way it looks. Detroit has 3 of the 6 remaining matchups. So really what I'm looking for is not if they can go 0-16-1. It's, can they put one on the board for the Cats? Can they do anything to bring this up? Because I mean, none of the matchups are shoo-ins for the Cats the way it is for the Birds there, because the Jaguars, Falcons, right, that could go either way. The Panthers, Falcons could go either way, and then Ravens, Bengals could also go either way. So this is really, really not looking good for the Cats. But I will say, Lions in these matchups they've been bad in recent years, but overall they have a winning record in this format. So they aren't horrible. They're not the worst of the worst, but definitely in the last few years, they've been lagging. So yes, I'm going to be looking not for the 0-16-1, but what can they do in the 3 feline versus bird games? I think that's all I can speak for our entire audience. That's going to be what everyone's looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's move on. I'm a big Thanksgiving guy. Big in the food, big in the football, just love the day. And so we've got a few episodes left till Thanksgiving, and I have a couple Thanksgiving questions in the hopper that I'm going to start rolling out, 1 per episode. So this week, I was thinking, you go to Thanksgiving every year, you've got your nosy aunt, you've got the grandpa that falls asleep at 11 a.m. And doesn't wake up till dinner. You have the uncle who is watching football all day. After the meal, he goes back to the couch, unbuckles the belt, and just kind of sits down, plops down. And they're just all classic stereotypes. And so I want to fit some Vikings into the classic Thanksgiving members. So I want you to look across the Vikings roster and give me, your Vikings as family member takes.
So Kirk Cousins is the cousin who, you were best friends with them when you were little and you were at the kids' table together, and then you grew up and you realize that he was kind of boring, and you lose track of what exactly they do and where they live and who they're dating. And you see them once a year and you're cordial, but you're like, we had more fun when we were 7. and now we're 30 and we're not having as much fun. Adam Thielen is the guy who wore his Letterman's jacket out on Wednesday night, and he went out with his high school buddies and just ripped it up and had all the inside jokes. And then he shows up just a little bit weary from the night before. CJ Ham drinks hams for the joke of it, and carves the ham. There's a lot of ham jokes. He's the butt of all the Thanksgiving puns. Mike Zimmer is, that's the sleepy uncle right there who's probably drinking beer. He's cracking wise at the football games, and he's taking that nap. He's taking that late afternoon nap 100%. I don't want to take them all, though, Paul. I'm sure you've got a few stored up there in the holster.
No, those are really good. I think, to me, Andre Patterson is like the uncle you haven't seen in a while and it's kind of grilling you like, okay, what are you doing? Like giving you like, okay, are you investing? Like, what's going on here? Like, are you really like, what's the job looking like? Like the girlfriend that's sitting right next to you, he's like looking at her. He's like, when are you guys getting married? Like, I think Andre Patterson's kind of grilling you, making sure you're up to speed and you're performing like you should in all aspects of life. I think Cousins as the cousin is really good. I was also going to go like I think he could be just the nosy aunt a little bit, asking us a lot of questions and just like, Kirk, get out of here. I'm trying to watch the football. Like I don't need to, like, we don't need to reminisce on my 8th grade, like graduation and things like that. That's how I have Kirk. And then I was trying to think, like, in my family, I've got like a fun cousin that we go outside, we're playing football, we're throwing the baseball around, trying to fit that in. I think maybe that could be like Eric Kendricks or Justin Jefferson, like the cousin I'm really excited to see. Like we're gonna talk crap about Kirk over in the corner while we're having fun. We're the cool kids over in the corner. So yeah, those were my best ones. My best one was the Andre Patterson thing. That was what came to mind right away for me. But yeah, I think this team is ripe for those people. So I loved yours. I thought I wasn't really going with the puns, so I'm glad you broke those out for the Cousins and the ham. But I think that's pretty good. I think I'd welcome the Vikings to come over to my Thanksgiving. I think I'd be happy with that.
The Vikings just have perfect names with cousins, ham. They have a cook who can be sort of the guy in the kitchen. It just works out too beautifully.
It does work out really, really well. Well, Sam, this might have been our best episode. I don't know. We get the Hot Routes music going. We get some Thanksgiving stuff. This is all I need for a Hot Routes episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you have other Thanksgiving questions, leave them for me. I'd love to get a whole Thanksgiving themed episode out next week if we can swing it. So we'll do that. But Sam, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure you'll be on pretty soon. And this was another edition of Hot Routes.
What a blast. Thanks, Paul.